Good afternoon and welcome everybody to the Circuit Franco-Belge. This is the Palmares of the 10 most recent edition. Last year we had that breakaway of 3 with Alexander Kristoff, Dries van Gestel and Victor Kampenaerts. Also Jacobsen, Allegaat, Miss Pedersen, McLeay, Groenewegen. Well, you see the names on your screen. A pretty big race here. We're racing in the French-speaking part of Belgium in Wallonia, and of course had our team presentation earlier today with the boys from UNOX. He's one of my big favourites there, Rasmus Tiller. We have a slight uphill kicker. He loves racing in Belgium. Dries van Gestel, of course, the runner-up from last year. We have man with beard of Team Total Energie. Pretty impressive beard there with Jeffrey Soup. The boys from Lotto Destiny with Victor Kampenaerts also was on the podium last year in 3rd place. Arnaud Delis, well, we're probably going to discuss the European Championships later, but that was wow. We have Soudal Quickstep here on the podium. Everybody is thrilled. It is Dave Nijns there next to Florian Sénéchal, his final race on Belgian soil. We have Jasper Stuyven. Will it finally be his day today? Tony Galopin, also one of his last races. He is going to retire, become a sports director. Mike Teunissen here. Yeah, he had a fantastic European Championships as well. And Biniam Girmay, so far, it's not been his year. Many crashes. Maybe he can turn his luck around. We have Axel Ziegler, the man from Team Cofidis. He likes these kind of things. Franco on the podium as well. Oliver Naassen there and Greg van Avermaet. Big hand of applause there for Greg van Avermaet. He was actually the first attacker today. Sadly, didn't end up in the breakaway. We also have
podium autour des flancs, Monsieur Louis Couzart, qui va recevoir le maillot dédicacé de Mathieu Van Der Poel. Ceux qui ont vu Louis en colère, lèvent la main. Personne ne l'a vu.
This is what we have from Mathieu Van Der Poel. He's not here, sadly. He was planning to be here. The road book has mentions of him. He's even on the cover of the road book. But after his win his win last week and the Olympic test event, he decided to call it quits for the season. Have a little bit of holiday and then move on to the cyclocross season. This is Tournai, our start place, a beautiful town, Doornik in Flemish. We're in the south of Belgium, actually not that far from the border with France. We're not going into France as we did in previous editions here. We start in Tournai, then we move upwards north, do one big 80-kilometer lap, and then we end up on the local laps that are 22.6 kilometers, including the Col de l'Orlitain and the Côte de Trieux, or the Knokteberg. So 2 pesky climbs there, and also an uphill kicker to the finish line here in Mont de l'Inclus, which is French for the Klausberg. We're not going to do that famous climb, but we do have enough climbing for you to enjoy here on the local circuits. Here we are with our breakaway of the day. They attacked basically from the gun. Like I said, Greg van Avermaet was our first attacker, but he was caught, and then we ended up with these 4 guys. Oscar Riesebeek in the blue of Alpecin, De Koning in the red of Arkea Samsic, Mathis Lebert in the black and whitish of Ablok Continental Cycling Team, Meindert Veulink, and Célestin Guillon is the man in pink and white of the Go Sport Roubaix Lille Métropole Van Rijssel. Well, they were called Go Sport, that went of course bankrupt, and now they're sponsored by Van Rijssel, the bike brand of the Decathlon. Célestin Guillon, the youngest here, Mathis Lebert there in red, and the oldest Oscar Riesebeek for Alpecin, De Koning. 102 kilometers to go, meaning that 11 kilometers ago we passed the finish line, and that brings us bang in the middle of our local lap. The next Côte de Trieux is just behind us, and now we're making our way to the finish line again, actually. My name is José Bain. With me, as always, my wingman, Brian Smith. Hi, Brian.
Afternoon this time, Josie.
I'm really shocked to see you in daylight, Brian. Positively shocked. Positively shocked.
I don't look any different.
No, you don't look any different. No.
Probably better with the lights off.
It's all good. It's all good. We're not going there. Oscar Riesebeek of the opposite the Koning team. Yeah, of course they had a big name lined up as their replacement for Mathieu van der Poel. Jasper Philipsen, the winner of Paris-Chauny on the last weekend, but Philipsen woke up with a little bit of a cold, and he has some goals left this season, including the Tour of Turkey, Münsterland Tour as well on the 3rd of October, next Tuesday from the top of my head. And he wants to be the most winning rider this season. He's on 14 wins, and in the Tour of Turkey, of course, well, he can add quite possibly a few more. But yeah, he had hoped to contest the sprint here as well today. It's a perfect race for him, a little bit of an uphill kicker. 14 wins for Jasper Philipsen, 16 at the moment for a certain Tadej Pogačar. So that is the battle for the king of victories right now, and we'll see how that plays out. We have one lone chaser, that is Sander de Pestel here of the Flanders Baloise team, the talent team from Belgium. Although, Brian, since every World Tour and even Pro team has got their own development team anymore, I wonder, is there still place for this team?
Yeah, there's a place for every team. You know, I think at the end of the day, it's, you know, development teams are very, very important for all teams, and it's what you get back out of it. There's so many teams in the past that have been here, and I think, as you say, Flanders have been, you know, that development team. They're not interested in going to kind of World Tour, so it's all about developing their riders.
We have Spot the Scots. Well, there we go.
You got it in straight away.
There goes his number. A little bit of repair work there done on the saddle, I think. No. The number is gone. That's a fact.
It looks like his saddle's come loose.
That red and white thing you see there is a wrapper. He takes the wrapper with him because if you throw it away where you're not allowed to, you get a 200 Swiss francs fine. But the mechanic could have just taken away the wrapper first. This is the situation. Sander de Pestel on an authentic chaspatat, as the Belgians and the Dutch call it, a rather useless chase, a potato chase.
Let's see, because he's only kind of put 48 seconds behind. I was surprised when we came in here and these four riders didn't have too much of a time gap. I thought they would have more, and you know, in other races they would probably have about 3 minutes with about 100 kilometres to go. So it just goes to show you that, you know, there's still a little bit of activity. These guys aren't kind of really hanging about. So if you want to get across, if you missed the breakaway and you want to get across, then why not try it now? But like you say, he's stuck a little bit no man's land. He has to get a little bit closer to these guys, for these guys to kind of maybe slow and let him on. 4 at the moment, but 5 could be a little bit better.
Mathis Lebert there on the new Bianchi. The opinions on it are quite varied. I have understood on the design of the new Bianchi. I rather like it as long as it's Celeste. It's good. Oscar Riesebeek, yeah, he's 30. I have not seen an announcement that his contract will be renewed for next year. Hopefully it will. He's a trusty domestique. Almost won a Giro stage 1 year, but he also had his fair share of bad luck, crashes and injuries and what have you. So his season was not as he had wanted it to be. Here we have Arnaud de Lee, who, well, this is not Arnaud de Lee, this is Florian Vermeers, by the way. I'm sorry. It was a very early morning, my friend. But yeah, their big leader is, of course, Arnaud de Lee. You have probably watched the final of the European Championships. There was a bit of, well, not controversy, but Arnaud de Lee did the lead out for Wout van Aert, and Greg Henderson said Arnaud de Lee could have won himself. What's your opinion on that?
I think I already made my opinion on social media. I think it could have been possibly a different outcome if Wout van Aert had led out the lead. Exactly the same as, by the sounds of things, what Greg Henderson is saying. It was incredible what he did, and he was still there. He wasn't that far away at the end. Normally, when you make that huge effort like he did, your legs totally blow, but he still had that little bit left. So yeah, that's in the past. You'll never change that. But I think by the sounds of things in the European Championships, from what I heard from the commentary, was that they were going for Arnaud de Lee that day. So to change it around, it's you've got a couple of good big personalities there. It's just a pity that they didn't go with de Lee, because, like Greg says, I think he could have won as well.
Yeah, and that's always a difficult thing with the young and upcoming rider, isn't it? Wout van Aert, an established name. Arnaud de Lee, his rise to the top has been stratospheric, and then it's really hard just to put your fist on the table and say, well, this is for me. Today we're doing it for me. And I remember in Qatar, when Jasper Stuyven was, I think, in a position to actually win the World Championships, but no, the plan was to ride for Bonen, who was in his last or his penultimate year, and they brought everything back, and Bonen became third.
The problem we've got with that is we're hearing from Arnaud de Lee, I think.
I don't hear anything. I'm sorry, I don't have any sound.
Well, we don't want to talk over it just in case.
Yeah.
So apologise, we didn't hear it. Maybe you heard it at home, but we didn't want to talk over it, just in case it was being broadcast. It has happened in the past. But just to answer your question, that's the trouble sometimes with national teams, and we see it quite often in the past, especially with the Italian team. And you just mentioned the Belgians as well there from Qatar, that they don't ride year in, year out. It's not their trade teams, it's the national team. And okay, you've got some good managers there, but it comes down to management. They make the call. It's not the riders that make the call. They make the call what's best for the team. So I think my comment was, I think Belgian cycling got it wrong there with their choice in the finish, but there's nothing you can do about it. You need to move on.
And that is exactly what we are doing. Arnaud de Lee, he is in his standard Lotto Destiny team kit, together with under 23 rider Ramses de Bruyne, Victor Kampenaerts, Alex Seegaard, Frederik Frison, Maxime van Gils and Florian Vermeers, an all Belgian squad there for Lotto Destiny. You've got 6 World Tour teams here with Alpecin de Koning, AG2R, Cofidis, Lidl Trek, Arkea and Soudal Quickstep. And this is a flat tyre for our man from Denmark. We also have the AG2R team there at the front with all of their Belgians, actually. Stan de Wulf, Nasen en Nasen, Greg van Avermaat, Antoine Rochelle, Max Serrault and Pierre Cotera, which is a team we often see in these late season classics for the team from France. They just announced a whole bunch of contract renewals, including Oliver Nasen and everybody's favorite American after Sepkus, Larry Warbasse, staying on with the team for another year. We have Guillaume Boivin there, the former national champion of Canada, racing with Israel Premier Tech. They also have Corbin Strong on the team, and I feel that this is a perfect horse for Corbin Strong.
Yes, indeed. Along with many others, I would think. But Corbin Strong, coming from the Tour of Luxembourg with a win in the first stage, he kind of disappeared a little bit after that. But Yeah, let's see what you can do here. Definitely Israel Premier Tech are a team that's have come here with a clear plan, and let's see what they can deliver in the end.
Our 4 leaders, Célestin Guillon, he's 27. This is his first year on the Van Rijssel team, a third division team from, well, as it says on his behind, the north of France. They're actually racing a home race because their home base in Lille is actually, well, what is it, 40 kilometers from where we're racing, 50 kilometers from our start town of Tournai. Of course, we're racing to the north, so a little bit further away right now. Oscar Riesebeek is a man from the centre of the Netherlands, right the same place where I'm from actually, where all these rivers in the centre of the Netherlands come together. So we sometimes spot each other on the infamous Lekkerdijk. This is Mathis Lebert, the youngest of them all. He's just 22, very promising young man from the Arkea Samsic team. You might remember him as being in the breakaway earlier this year in Omloop het Nieuwsblad, and the last one to stay with Dylan van Baarle. I have been involved, Brian, that the sound of the interview doesn't go out to our viewers either, so we can just continue our conversation. This is Lionel Tabignot of the Alpecin and the Koning team. Of course, their strategy has changed with the news early this morning as Sander de Pestel is now caught after his little chasse patate action. This is interesting, by the way. This is the final 2 kilometers into the finish line, and look how incredibly narrow this is. This is something to really take into account. The next time we get to the finish line, we'll be at 90.4 kilometers. So this is the final of our lap. It's incredibly narrow, and that's why quite often a breakaway makes it. Although this finish that we have today is another one than in previous years. They tend to throw it around just a little bit. Same goes with the place on the calendar from September, May, August, July even. They've been all over the place, but now they are here back at the original spot. The end of September, early October-ish is where the formerly called Eurometropole Tour was always located. We go past Chez Francine. I don't know if that is a bakery or a coffee shop, maybe a hairdresser, or a frituur, as we have in Belgium. For many of these riders, this is the last race of the season, or well, almost the last race. We've got 2 races left in Belgium, I think, with Grand Prix Pinot Cerami is back on the calendar, and we also have Belge, which is on Tuesday. And that is the final race of the UCI calendar. Here we are. This is the final kilometre. It's quite narrow, Brian.
It was narrow. It kind of opened up a little bit. I think by that time it'll be strung out. There's still an opportunity to move up once we get onto this part of the course. But like you say, it could be crucial. And I think the one thing that has to be said, especially coming up to the last lap, Joe says, if anything did happen, and I'm talking about touch of wheels, a crash, then there's no way back. So everybody will have that in their mind. So it will be a bit of a challenge to get premium place at the front of that kind of narrow road, because although you have time to come back up, you really don't want to be making those big efforts.
We've got Ramses de Bruyne moving to the front there. Ramses de Bruyne, what a fantastic name that is. He's part of the development setup of the Lotto Destiny team. Yeah, and this is not an easy finale, as we can see here. This is for the power sprinters, and that's why Rasmus Tiller is my big favourite today.
Voilà le 4 installé en tête devant le public. Venu des gens gros nombre et pour peu nous sommes encore à quelques pouces de la ligne en voie. L'Équateur installé au commandement avec Mathis Lebert dans le sillage de Célestin Guillon. Guillon qui emmène Mathis Lebert en 12e position.
Yeah, this is an effort that you really have to time to perfection. So we will be at least 2 hours away from the finish.
Je crois qu'on va pouvoir applaudir les 4 athlètes échappés depuis le départ. Les voilà. Alors pour les encourager, 1 minute.
A little bit of trouble there. Yeah, flat front tyre there for the Frenchman. Well, it wasn't his year either, Brian Nassar-Bouhanni. So much bad luck. Of course, last year, that horrible crash in Turkey, coming back to Mallorca, crashing there again, coming back, crashing again. Yeah, one would get demoralised for less.
It's a difficult one. You get a crash, you come back, and you lose that little bit of confidence, and it's kind of strange saying that about Nassar-Bouhanni and confidence, but we're all human, we all do suffer from it. So sometimes these little mistakes you make time and time again, and it's cost him dearly, but I wish him the best. He has been a, should I say, kind of controversial sprinter in the past, but I think it's just his nature. He's just giving it absolutely everything, and split second decisions that he has. I know that some may not like him, but each to their own, to be honest with you. And Nassar-Bouhanni, I hope he gets back to getting results soon. He's running out of time now, but there's still a few races in France, of course, but he's running out of time.
Yeah, and meanwhile, his former rival Arnaud Desmar has joined the Arkea Samsic team as well, which he will probably not have been thrilled about. There was rumours that he was retiring. He denied that. But yeah, Nassar-Bouhanni, his best days are, well, a while ago. Hopefully he can go back to form. I think it's always a little bit unfair to say that he's controversial. I remember that here in Eurosport we had that clip of the 5 most controversial sprints, and 2 of them were by Mark Cavendish, and only 1 by Nassar-Bouhanni. So it's all about perspective, yes, there's been some dodgy sprints, but there's more of these kind of sprinters around. It's a bit unfair to say that Bouhanni is always crossing that line. So we continue. We do another 4 laps here around the local circuit, around Mont de l'Inclus, and that is where we are racing now. There's a little bit of wind on the open stretches. The wind is a southwestern wind today, about 15 kilometers an hour. We're making our way from the finish town, we're making our way to the east. So we have a tailwind at this part of the course. Then we go to the outskirts of Ronse and making our way back north on the Côte de Tilleux, on the Knopteberg, and then back to our finish town. But it looks, Brian, as if Lotto Destiny wants to start this final rather early, because this is not about controlling our 4-man breakaway.
No, at 44 seconds they aren't. It's, it's not, you just mentioned it about the winds. The wind is not having any kind of major effects. It's purely safety, and I really do think that they have got the man to beat. It would have been interesting to see if Jasper Philipsen was here, but he's not. But after the recent European Championships, I have to heavily favour Arnaud Delay in this one. I know we've got some really good sprinters here, but Arnaud Delay for me, especially that kind of uphill kick up just before the last few hundred metres, I think definitely he's the man to beat. And no real surprise that Lotto Destiny have decided, we want this as a sprint finish. We have got the best rider. We want to keep him safe, especially in a lot of these kind of small roads. It just needs touch a wheel and you're out the race. And I think, looking back, he mentioned Mark Cavendish. When he won in Copenhagen his world title, the British team just went to the front and thought, we've got one of the fastest guys. We want to win this race, and just rode tempo the whole time. And They tried to do that at the Olympics in 2012 as well, but it's something that teams take on, that if you've got the favourite, you want to keep them safe. Just ride tempo on the front, and that's what they're doing. So it's going to be very difficult. I know it's quite a lumpy circuit, small roads, great racing circuit, but look at what they're doing now. As soon as you go on the small road, what do they do? Fan across the road, block the roads, and then in the other parts, then you push on. So this is just managing the circuits. Keep an hour delay towards the fronts, saving energy where you can, and pushing on when you have to.
All the way at the back of the bunch, we have the man with 1:41, the Polish rider Stanislav Anielkowski. We also have Heavenly Bendiched Ryan Christensen there. He was the one who posted on his Instagram feed that he was on the lookout for a new team. And then very early this morning, when Brian and I were live on the Tour of Langkawi, the Bolton Equities Black Spoke team confirmed that they were going to have to do a step back to continental level if they find a sponsor. It might also mean that there's just no team anymore next year. But a continental team is, of course, a lot more budget friendly than a pro team, especially if you have a European race program. Look, these riders of Lotto Destiny, they would have just jumped in their car this morning and drove to Tournai, to the start, or to a central place, otherwise your car would be stuck in Tournai, and then picked up. But these riders of Bolton Equities, they need hotels, they need a place to stay throughout the European road season. It's very expensive, and sadly they won't be a pro team anymore next year, a second division team that is. Here we are racing with the Brits, Mark Stewart and Jake Scott. Of course, Stewart has Olympic ambitions next year. And the same goes for another few riders on the Bolton Equities Black Spoke team. We've got some guys who are part of the New Zealand Team Pursuit, for example. They are racing mostly in Langkawi at the moment. Yeah, and to be without a road team next year is difficult. But on the other hand, Ryan, it's also not super duper interesting for sponsors if you are going to not be able to use, quote unquote, use your riders for a couple of months because of the Paris Olympics.
Yeah, I would say it's kind of part and parcel of our sports. That's maybe not being able to utilise for a couple of months your riders, but if they do medal and they do become Olympic champion, it's a huge return in investment. So it's not always easy, but next year is going to be a big year for a lot of these kind of Olympic riders. And you mentioned Mark Stewart. Mark Stewart, he made contact with me about 3 or 4 months ago. I really do think that at the time, I've said it before this kind of broke, that about the team that he's riding in was really kind of struggling. I think for Olympics, it's important for a lot of these riders to ride at the high end. Mark is in a second division team, and I think he's definitely world class on the track. I'd love to see him riding for a World Tour team to see what he can do, because we often say that second division teams, the average speed of a lot of the races they ride when they're kind of mixing it with continental teams isn't as high as a World Tour race. And the more World Tour races you ride, the better conditioning you get. So I just hope that some of the results he's had on the track and some in the roads, I think he deserves that shot. He's not young, but on the back of Human Powered Health and now Bolton Equity and the potential merger, the market might be flooded.
I am very afraid that it will be flooded. There's a lot of riders looking for a team right now, and that is the riders who are currently already on World Tour and pro teams. So, yeah, what about the riders who are trying to get onto that team, whether they are already on a continental third division team or they try to get onto that team? For them, it's going to be even more difficult, especially if they're not 19 or 20 years old. This is a big move again there by Lotto Destiny as we are making our way to the Côte de Trieux, to the Knokteberg. We just did the Col de Orlitin, and then 5 kilometers after that we continue straight away with the Knokteberg, and this is Frédéric Frisson, who after having spent his entire career in the Lotto Destiny team is making a move next year. And then you ask, where is he going? He's going to Q36.5. Trying to get a little bit of conversation going there, Brian. It's been a long day,
you're asking me a question. You're asking a question. I don't know where these people are going. They sign contracts, they go to different teams. You know, I don't always like the chat about this. It always seems to be during the Tour de France, signatures are signed here and there, and then afterwards what happens, and I just like to concentrate on racing.
I know, but then like the first 2 months of the next year, you'll be wondering, it's like, why is this guy suddenly in another jersey? So I'm just trying to help you there.
Thank
but
you.
We'll be fine. We'll be fine. But this serious increase in tempo has caused some trouble here for Mark Stewart, who crashed in one of the previous races that he did. Apparently, I don't know what race that was, but he's pretty banged up there. And the gap to our 4 leaders is almost down to 0. So I'll give you the names once more at the front. Meindert Wölink, a man from
There's no point, they're coming back.
At the front, a man from the east of the Netherlands, Meindert Wölink. We have Mathis Lebert of Artère, subsequent Oscar Riesebeek, another Dutchman of Alpes in the Koning, and Célestin Guillon, the second Frenchman in our break of 4. Romain Vatra with 206, and yeah, one of the most unlucky riders when it comes to signing contracts, Sebastian Schoenberger. He was part of the B&B team. That was never going to happen. Then he signed with Human Powered Health, and that team also looks to be in trouble. So very unlucky there for the man from Austria. But this is exactly what happened last year. We had a breakaway of 4, but that was caught really, really early on as well. And then all the attacks started to happen. And then, of course, Brian, it's up to Lotto Destiny to try and neutralize the attacks that are bound to happen once this group is caught.
I'm not too sure that the attacks will happen. It's not a kind of traditional, the breakaway comes back and then you see counter-attacks. What Lotto Destiny are doing is, on this circuit, what you have is, you have your kind of wide parts, narrow parts, and your uphill parts. And what they do is, they're stretching things out on the kind of more open parts. On the climbs, they're blocking the road and just riding easy. So when they go over the top of the climb and they open up the tempo, this is what happens. You know, it's an elastic band effect, and if you've been kind of sleeping, you've been down the back, somebody opens a gap, hey, this is what happens. So it's simply a case of slow up on the climbs, just spread across the roads, get together, push on a little bit, and it's that cumulative fatigue. You can see that Victor Kampenaerts just wanted to slow things down and try and more control what's at the front of the peloton.
81k to go. We're on the Côte de Trieux, on the Knokteberg, and our breakaway has been caught by the first peloton. This is a climb that we of course know from the Flemish Spring Classics. The Côte de Trieux is 1 kilometer long, but it's pretty punchy. It's 7.9% average. Yeah, this is a problem for a former winner of this race, Piet Allegaert. In 2019, he won this bike race in front of Florian Sénéchal and Jasper Stuyven, 2 riders who are here today as well. Looked to be a mechanical problem there for Piet Allegaert. Is this Pierre Cotera? I'll have to confirm. But new attacks are happening right away. Victor Kampenaerts in second position there, with his brake levers. Well, he's almost touching. His two fists are almost touching. They're that far back in. I do wonder if the UCI is going to put in place some regulations for this in the near future.
I think they're still measuring socks, but in the meantime, they are on this climb, and we do have some action still. 80 kilometres to go, 50 miles, and still a long way. But Victor Kampenaerts just trying to jump on everything, just making sure that they police things. Looks like Seneschal was there for Soudal Quickstep. I think I saw Patrick Lefevre by the side of the roads. Of course, very popular to have this the circuit race at the back.
Ask him about the merger. Ask him about the merger. Well, has he actually been to the service course?
We're not there, but I tell you what, I'll shout him out. I think he's on the previous climb, but I'll let you ask the question. You're the journalist, but there's a lot of riders. Tom Squeens, I think, is there, so it's just a kind of marking things towards the front of this peloton. But by the looks of things, this is a whittling down process in the circuit, and I think we will see some sort of sprint in the end, but it's going to be very reduced.
Yeah, and the motorbike is overtaking the riders. This is Maximin Juillard, and we go back to the front with Turgis and Squinch. I was informed earlier today that the Lidl actually has about 13 stores in Latvia. We don't know if Tom Squeens has been invited to officially open these stores, but they have stores, Lidl stores in Latvia.
So it's not that Lidl in Latvia, it's quite big.
It's a big Lidl, yeah. Big Lidl. Frisson moving up here as Kampenaerts is having a great day again. Looks like Seneschal is part of this, or is this Asgreen? Images need to get into focus a little bit more. But this is an interesting group. Everybody glancing over their shoulder to see what is happening, and then all the riders dropped here. Jens Reinders being one of them, or not dropped just yet, but just completely flat out here at the end of this peloton. So if you look at the lap, it's 22.6 kilometers long, and right in the middle we have that duo of climbs with the Côte de Orlitin and the Côte de Trieux. Then this really wide road, and then coming into the final 3 kilometers, we're basically onto a bike path. Yet again, apologies, we don't have any sound from on site with these rider interviews. This is Dries Devenants. He is going to retire at the end of this year. Fantastic rider, fantastic person. By the side of Remco Evenepoel, of course, when he won the Vuelta. But we can't hear the interview, sadly, so I cannot tell you what he says. He was honoured, by the way, on the podium, because this is going to be his last race on Belgian soil. There it is, a gift basket for Dries Devenants. There was also a gift basket for Greg van Avermaet. Also, apologies for the sound that is coming from the on-site, from motorbikes and everything. We're trying to fix it, but it's really, really loud. So there are some things that are not great. But the racing is, Brian, because it's full-on attacks from now. This is, I think, Tobias Holland Johannesson. We know him from that stage win in Luxembourg.
Yep, recently. Very good stage win he got there. A man on form, and he's with a few other riders that, clearly have got some good legs. You can see Victor Kampenaerts at the back here, and he is with number 61, Kasper Asgreen, and both of them not riding. I think we've already kind of mentioned Arnaud Delay is the big favourite there. There's no real reason, and I think I mentioned it. Victor Campenaerts for Lotto Destiny is just kind of placing these moves, just making sure that he's there. It's very important for them to have a rider there. But for Soudal Quickstep, they have got 2 representatives here. So I think it's in the best interest of Kasper Asgreen to ride it a little bit, because they also have the rider here in the shape of Florian Seneschal.
Yeah, who has been on the podium of this race before. We have a few former winners here, and we don't have a lot of winners here, I should say, but a lot of riders who were on the podium in previous years. So we have identified Victor Campenaerts. It was indeed Pierre Cotera of AG2R who initiated this move. We have the 2 riders for Soudal Quickstep with Seneschal and Asgreen, the Tour of Flanders winner.
Sorry, Josie, I have to apologise there. I've got the official start list here from our own documents.
It was wrong, I think.
Devanines, it's
not Devanines.
For Soudal Quickstep, so it's Devanines, it's in here. Here's the confirmation, so I apologise. Listen to this.
Okay.
Throwing that one away, and I'll get an updated one.
Interesting situation. Yeah, Holland, Johannesson, Turgis, absolutely 100% sure. Cotera, sure about that as well. Tom Screens, of course, wavy hair and everything. Looks like Tom Screens is going for the mullet look there, or just needs a haircut at the end of the season. But Tom's is always +1. A little bit of cyclocross action there from one of the riders of Lotto Destiny. Many of the pros in Belgium have entered the European Gravel Championships that take place in Belgium next weekend in Heverlee. Florian Vermeers being one of them. So already a little bit of pre-race action there, but I think it was actually Alex Segaert. Jens Reinders from the back all the way to the front right now. And this is, of course, Dries de Bont with our man from the breakaway, Oscar Riesebeek, and just ahead of him it's Teunissen, a man who had a fantastic European Championships, helped Olaf Kooi to a 3rd place. There was a lot of cooperation in the men's team at the European Championships, not so much, as always, in the women's team. Biniam Gramai, an interview, sadly, yet again, we can't hear it, you can't hear it. It would be interesting to know what he is saying.
We do know that lip reading.
No,
it feels good. Good to be back in Franco Belge, and he looks to try and win this race. It really kind of suits him.
It's his first time. No, it's not his first time. It was there last year. Just kidding. Campenaerts, number 43. There's been a little bit of cutting action going on there in the bib numbers. Normally that is an official infringement, but there's probably a reason why he did that, because with Campenaerts there's always some thinking going on about things like that. Are you now taking your scissors and just trying to cut your own bib number, or?
Often riders will do this. It's not unknown. Like you say, that it's official. You can't trim the numbers down at all, but the riders do it. I've had numbers in the past where the plastic, the reusable numbers, and they almost kind of wrap around you. So everybody's trying to kind of think of these kind of small aerodynamic advantages, and it's clear that Victor Campenaerts likes small numbers. He produces big numbers, of course.
Maybe you could go to Lidl number. Anyways, of course, the year of Biniam Gramai was not an utter disaster, as I maybe make it sound to be. He did win quite early on this year in Valencia, and he won, of course, a stage in the Tour of Switzerland. But there were also a lot of crashes, and yeah, his first Tour de France was not. It was not what he hoped it to be. It was rather bleak. There was a third place in this stage to Bordeaux, one of the stages won by Jasper Philipsen. But apart from that, it was a hard year for Biniam Girmay. Hopefully, he'll come back blazing next year. We are in the peloton, and of course, we have got a few big teams represented at the front. The World Tour teams, AG2R, Lidl Trek, Soudal Quickstep, are all represented there at the front. And that means it's now up to Cofidis. It's now up to Cofidis to try and chase this move. Intermarché are there as well. They're racing here with the aforementioned Biniam Girmay, Lorenzo Rota, Dion Smith, Mike Teunissen, Dries de Polter, Georg Zimmermann and Amé de Gent. This is Jens Reinders for the Israel team. Always very recognizable with his grinta ever present. You've got a new start list, Brian. You ready?
Yeah, we're going to start again. Just printed off a new start list, the one that's up to date. We have files that we get our information from at Eurosport. Clearly this one was out of date, although it said final entry list. But it was just when I saw Devanines and it said Asgreen, there's a big difference between both of them. But we know who's there. Everybody's riding apart from the rider at the back, Victor Campenaerts. You can see the peloton just behind, but this is a hard chase. A lot of teams realised that they'd made a mistake, so this is coming back.
And imagine, we still got 71 kilometres to go. That is almost 2 hours of racing still left here in the Circuit Franco-Belge. We're making our way to the finish line again. We're now at 4 kilometres from the line, and this is very much Dries Devanines at the front of this first group. Terschis, Gauthieras, Squinch, Halland Johannessen, Tobias, that is. But the group is about to be caught. But this is really nasty surface there. And then we'll probably start all over again with new attacks that have to be countered. And really smart racing there by Lotto Destiny, sending Campenaerts with them, meaning that Lotto Destiny was not in charge of the chasing.
I think they want to control something here, because they've kind of lost control. It's very difficult to keep control when you've got a lot of riders attacking, and the quality that we've got in this front group as well. We've got 8 riders here. You can clearly see that they're trying as hard as they can to stay away, but it's not going to happen because Intermarché, Cofidis, Israel Premier Tech, 3 teams have shut this one down. They have got the passenger of Victor Campenaerts, but just looking further back, 3 riders for Lotto Destiny just behind. I think, a couple more a bit further back, but earlier on when we saw the gaps opening, there was a couple of Lotto Destiny riders already being distanced, so they've already lost a few members of their squad.
Lotto distance. It's great weather, very Indian summer here in Belgium, about 21 degrees for the riders to enjoy. No rain on the radar today, which is good because it can be rather slippy here, especially since harvest season is in full swing and there might be some mud and what have you on the road. Well, this attack now neutralised, and that means we just start again from scratch.
Yeah, I think Lotto Destiny, Victor Campenaerts just come in front. I think they want to just settle things down a little bit. I don't think every team was happy with that situation. That was a very strong 8-man group. Okay, they had a passenger in there, but I think riders teams just want to kind of settle things down for the moment. It won't be long until we finish another lap, and a good chance for us to see this lap in entirety.
'94 here, Niklas Larsen Also a man who has the Olympics on his mind next year on the track, that is. Now we're back with Israel Premiertech with our Canadian man. Yeah, yet again, we do apologise for the sound from on site. We're trying to work on it, but it's a bit dodgy at the moment. So this is the final kicker to the finish line. Aimon de l'Inclus, one of the riders of the Flanders-Baloise team at the front. We have Aimé de Gente. We also have Julien Bernard in our shot of the Lidl track team. Florian Vermeers is at the front as well for Lotto Destiny. Jasper Stuyven moving up. We have Lorenzo Rota there as well. And then it seems like the sound is completely gone now.
Flanders rider is Camille Bonneau. I've been impressed with him over the last kind of few years. He won a stage of Tour of Britain last year, came to prominence. Not frightened to have an attack, the rider from Flanders.
We started today with 136 riders. Looks like the peloton is still more or less complete, but yeah, we continue straight away after 4 kilometers. After crossing the finish line, we go to our first climb again. That is the Col de Orlitin. It's 1.7 kilometers, just shy of 4% average. And then 5 kilometers after that on our local lap, as the bottles are flying around there in the feeding zone. We go to the Côte de Trieux, so a double header there about halfway into the lap. 3 more laps to go, because yeah, we've got 22 kilometers to go, and drones are all the rage now. Look at that, more drone footage.
Ah, voilà, je t'avais dit de ne pas parler quand on allait au quai, donc voilà, je te laisse, tu prends du sucre en poudre, et puis là, ça va partir.
This has been Hermans, one of the veterans, and there is a mechanical issue for Victor Kampenaerts. Ooh, that is not great. 3 kilometers out from the first climb. This is the neutral service, but that one is just moving on. You can see how carefully he goes through the corners there. It's probably racing tubeless here, but still, if you have no air in your tyre anymore, it's pretty treacherous to descend. Yeah, this might mean that Victor Kampenaerts has to put in a really, really big effort. You can already see the patrolling there at the front of the bunch by Alex Zegaard to make sure that Kampenaerts has a shot to come back. Remember, he was the number 3 of last year's race, so Lotto Destiny would really prefer him to be able to come back. But that was a really unlucky place to have a flat tyre, Brian.
Yeah, especially where the team cars are. But I think there's no real panic. There's still 65 kilometres to go. A few other riders coming back from mechanicals or whatnot. It's, you know, he'll just have to rely on his teammates placing things towards the front. I'm pretty sure that Victor Kampenaerts will come back. It's kind of hard when you see, you know, the distance, but when you've got the convoy behind and the support that you get from the team car, not just in the wheel, you know, the little bit of kind of shelter to get back to the convoy, and then you use the convoy sometimes it can be a little bit easier, to be honest with you, in the convoy, but maybe not so much on this type of terrain where it gets narrow, it opens up, and it's more when you've got a constant pace. The draft you get in the convoy is quite good.
Meanwhile, the Israel Premier Tech team sent one of their riders up the road. They're racing here with Boivin, the two Belgians, Hermans and Reinders, Chris Nijlands, Corbin Strong, Tom van Asbroek, Brady Gilmore. And yeah, we do know that the form of Corbin Strong is pretty good. Won a stage last week in Luxembourg, and these kind of punchy finishes do suit him well. Did he win a stage in Britain as well?
Corbin Strong?
Yeah.
No. Don't think he was riding.
Then
last year.
Yeah, then it was last year. It was last year. 153 here, Jake Scott of the Bolton Equities team. Yeah, well, that's success. The man with the sign. Time for a lone attacker as we go on this Côte de Orlitain. 1.7 kilometers long, 3.7% average. It's not really a big deal, but we're doing this circuit 6 times. And this is Mike Teunissen, who was part of that breakaway of 8 in the final of the European Championships, together with Olaf Kooi. And nobody's really reacting. And in the absence of Mathieu van der Poel, well, this might more or less be the place where Mathieu van der Poel just pulls off a solo. But yeah, to do that as well might be slightly ambitious. This is good news for Victor Campenaerts because it means that the pace will be okay-ish. I do hope that his team car made it to Campenaerts in time. So that was the first of our 2 climbs on the local circuit, and then pretty soon after this one we continue with the second one, the one that's much steeper, the Côte de Trieux. We do have a mountain classification, as we do also have an intermediate sprint classification. And these sprint classifications, they are called after riders who are no longer with us anymore. We have the Souvenir Claude Cric-Léon, we have a Souvenir Wouter Weiland, Souvenir Antoine Demoitier, Chimie Duquesnoy, one of the riders here from Wallonia who died a few years ago. So a sprint classification and a King of the Mountains classification with a small premium attached to that. It's a pretty sizable gap already, Brian.
Yeah, his TV motorbike must be a friend as well, getting a little bit of help. But yeah, it's one of these situations where they were in the back foot into Marcia, having to do a little bit of chasing. Teunissen, very good rider, deciding that maybe kind of taking the pressure off the team, trying to get a breakaway organised, but it doesn't seem to be happening. Just look at this peloton. This is like Kermesse style. If you come over to Belgium, it doesn't matter what level you ride at. These kind of circuit races, you can get circuits like this that are pretty much lined out the whole way. So Teunissen for Intermarché decides that, well, he got that advantage, he's going to keep it there. The question is, who's chasing behind? I know a sole rider, 62 kilometres to go, it's a long, long way, but I think just taking that pressure off his team from riding on the front, and I think this lap already is producing, you know, a hard race, and we've still got, you know, a few laps to go around these corners and hills and things like that. It should be a very entertaining final.
More action coming from the peloton with a little trek.
Yeah, this is a Galopin Charmic for Uno X and Seri for Soudal Quickstep. It was just a case of just opening up the gap there, but that was almost going wide there in the corner there. Just had to kind of double check there. But Peter Seri, not the best at cornering, but Tony Galopin there. Anton Charmic for Uno X and the Reds, but just look behind Lotto Destiny having absolutely none of it and trying to shut it down.
Really, really big gear on there for Mike Teunissen, the man who won a stage in the Tour de France in Brussels and also got the yellow jersey. Remember that stage where Dylan Groenewegen ended up on his bum right in the middle of the peloton, and his lead-out man, Mike Teunissen, continued to sprint and actually won the stage and the yellow jersey. Big moment there in the career for Mike Teunissen. A lot of action right now in the peloton. With Dan Hole there, unmistakable. William Grimay, also part of these counter-attacks. Dries van Gestel is there for Total Energie. "60 kilometers to go." Dries de Bond, well, probably not his best day of his year. But Dries de Bond is a guy who always races, and he races a lot of races and race days. And at the end of the season, the tank can be a little bit empty. This is our lone leader, Mike Teunissen, the Dutchman of the Intermarché Circus Van T team. But with 60 kilometers to go, this is hugely ambitious. But it does spare his team from having to do the work at the front, and that is down to Lotto Destiny again. It gives me the idea that Victor Kampenaerts is back. Otherwise, it would be a little bit counterproductive to race at the front of the peloton when you hope that your teammate is still coming back.
Yeah, I'm not too sure he is back yet. This is just a case of slowing things down a little bit, trying to gain control rather than chase. Like you say, it's ambitious with 60 kilometres to go. You've got, you know, one rider in front, Mike Teunissen. So I don't think they're too worried about just a sole rider. That's why they've come to the front and just trying to kind of settle things down. It kind of suits Arnaud Delis a little bit more. There was a little bit too much activity there for a few riders, but it's settled down there. One rider in front, but of course, when you've got that one rider in front of the attacks had continued, and then a few riders would have been went across, then you're represented. So if I was in front with like Mike Teunissen is now, and I found out that the activity has stopped, then I'd be a wee bit worried sitting out there on my own. I think Mike Teunissen was hoping that he could dangle out there and potentially a few riders would have went across. He's looking round. Where are you? Come on, I need help.
Help, help, which is in Dutch is also help, so quite universal. Former cyclocross man as well, Mike Teunissen, I think even a world champion in the under-23 category in Kentucky. That was a long time ago. The Soudal Quick-Step team, they're here with Dries Devenijns, Askreen, Lampaert, Seneschal, Serry, Stan van Tricht there in the middle, and Louis Vervaeke. And at the end of the season, Brian, riders are either still motivated or completely burned out. There's no in between.
I don't know if that's changed, because it's not as if they're kind of over-raced like we were before. You know, we used to ride over 100 days a year. Nowadays, they're kind of limited it to about 80 days a year. So I think we've noticed that over the last few years, especially since lockdown, that, you know, the riders come to each race and, you know, they should be on form. It's, like I was saying, it's not as if they are over-raced. But I think it's more of a mental block than anything else, of what you want to get out the race, what the goal is for the team. How are you mentally? You're here because, you know, you get a chance of winning. But it's, you know, if you get one, put it this way, I don't think it's fatigue because they've over-raced. I think it might be, at this time of year, it seems to be a long season and people are looking to possibly do what you can't do during the season, have that bit of a kind of holiday and relax and do kind of normal things in life, rather than, you know, counting the calories that you eat and, you know, training really hard and look at your wattage. They just want to switch off for a little bit and then concentrate in next year. Go on, Mike.
So that was the top of the Côte de Trieux, and we have more attacks from the bunch. There is Victor Campenaerts. Well done, Victor.
You get back.
Brian had all the confidence in you.
100%.
You always see the good in people. That's you. Oops. Ambitious bottle handling there. Luckily, there were only two people. Yeah, Mike Teunissen is still going full gas. And that is for sure. He is 31. Comes from a town called IJsselstein. We've got two in the Netherlands, actually. One about 15 kilometers from where I live, but this is the IJsselstein in the north of the province of Limburg, the southernmost province of this country. And IJsselstein is also known for the fact that it has the biggest German war cemetery in the Netherlands. Some good results recently for Mike Teunissen. Of course, that stage win in Gerardsbergen in the Renewy Tour. There were top 10 places as well on stage 5. 5th place in the GC. He went on with a good race in Quebec. 11th in the Super 8 Classic, that race that was won by Mathieu van der Poel. And a 5th place on the Van Berg last Sunday at the European Championship. So some good late season form there for Mike Teunissen, who has got another year on his contract with Intermarché. Indicated that he has 28 seconds on the peloton, and there we go, off the Knokteberg and then straight onto the big road here as we make our way back to the finish line. So it's about 11 kilometers, 10.5 kilometers from the Côte de Trieux to the actual finish in Mont de l'Encluse. Glancing underneath his arm there to see what is happening behind him. All of a sudden the GPS gives us 18 seconds. It would be nice if we could also glance over our shoulder to see what's happening. We do recognise Jasper Stuyven there as one of the riders chasing in this group of 5. One of the riders of Human Powered Health involved as well. This is a pretty serious move by Jasper Stuyven. Interesting, because I would have thought Jasper Stuyven would be the dedicated man for the finale.
I don't think they're holding anything back. It's one of these situations where if it is kicking off and you've got some good riders going down the road, you have to follow and get involved with the race, and you cannot just kind of hold back, especially when there's some decent riders and decent teams going down the road. It puts you in the back foot. You know, talking about the back foot, you've got Lotto Destiny kind of propped on the front of the peloton, yet again closing things down.
Yeah, and this is making life a little bit harder for Victor Campenaerts, who was about to get back to the peloton, and then there was this new attack from the bunch with Jasper Stuyven there, but you can see the bunch is actually in pieces, and that makes it really difficult for Victor Campenaerts to move up right now.
The problem is that, you know, he got to the back when it was, you know, the pace wasn't on, it was slightly easier, and there's no place to move up in the kind of small roads, so he thought, right, I'll just take my chance, I'll stay here, I'm not kind of push and shove, I'll wait till it opens up. But unfortunately for him, when it did open up, the race opened up again, and you know, he has to be careful that he doesn't get distanced, and you know, try and, you know, there's a small group off the back of this group that he's there. He just has to, at this stage, fingers crossed, because this is a little bit of dead wood. Okay, there's some good riders in here, but these are riders that really don't have the power left. That's why they're at the back. Victor Campenaerts coming back after having a puncture, of course, making that hard chase. So he just has to sit there hoping that these riders will help him get back to the main part of the peloton.
Total Energie with the two riders that really excelled last Sunday in the Netherlands, with Sandy Dujardin and with Anthony Turgis. Two vital riders to help Christophe Laporte win the championship. Jasper Stuyven again for the Lidl Trek team. On the bike path, disqualified, can't ride on the bike path. Greg van Avermaet, no, Oliver Nase is joining this group as well. It feels, Brian, as if I'm on the motorbike as well. Getting a little bit dizzy here. There's no steady cam here.
Yeah, it's good. It's all over the place. You feel like it's virtual reality stuff, isn't it? You know what I mean? We're keeping off the bike pass, but it's, you know, these road conditions are a little bit bumpy, and you know, we're feeling the full effects here. But Julien Bernard is the rider at front for Lidl Trek. They seem very, very animated about creating a small group. But yeah, all the time this group is getting a little bit smaller and smaller. Still over 50 kilometres to go, and I think by the looks of things, it's going to be a hard race in the finish.
Actually, see the riders trying to avoid that ridge there in the middle between the two concrete slabs. It's not something where you want to get your front wheel in, I can assure you that. Well, this is better news for Victor Campenaerts. His teammates back at the front here with Frisson. Solid racing there. Greg van Avermaet also there at the front with the brown bibs. Brown bibs are all the rage because the Movistar gravel team also races with brown bibs, and we will have both Valverde and Annemiek van Vleuten in the gravel world championships, and that is next weekend. On Saturday we've got the women's world championships, looking for a successor to Pauline Ferrand-Prévot, or not quite possibly herself again. And on Sunday we have got the world championships for the men's elite, with Gianni Vermeers as the defending champion, but we will also have names like Laurens ten Dam, Nick Terpstra, Wout van Aert, to name but a few of the well-known names from my part of the world. So that is Saturday and Sunday. It's a busy weekend next weekend. Of course, got Lombardia's on as well, start to finish on Saturday, and on Sunday Paris Tour as well. But first, let's focus on this one. 51.4 kilometers to go. with Frisson leading the proceedings. We have Dries van Gestel there, Greg van Avermaet, Jens Reinders very active at the front. Rasmus Tiller, one of my favourites for today's win. That would be nice. But remember, we still got that one guy up front, and that is Mike Teunissen.
No, he's caught.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's probably the dizziness from being on the motorbike. And a very long
I'm just looking at the back here, as you say, that group that came back. Just see second from the back there is Brian Cocard. We saw Cofidis ride a little bit before. Is it for Zangler in this type of finish, or is it for Brian Cocard? So whether he had a mechanical, we kind of missed that, but kind of hanging about the back. You don't want to remain there. You want to come up to the front because it is active, although Lotto Destiny have just taken control of this again.
Again, indeed. Look at that. 5 riders with Arnaud Delis as their big champion, the man who is the big favourite for today. Let's be completely honest about that. We are approaching the finish line yet again, but we've still got 5 kilometres to go from this part. On these small roads, we're racing centre-east of Belgium, about 50 kilometres to the southeast of the state capital of Brussels. We're mostly racing here in Hainaut. We just went across the border to Flanders quite early on in the race, but most of this race actually takes place on in Wallonia. Yeah, Mike Teunissen back in the peloton. In Wallonia. It's called the Franco belge, actually, which was the original name, because it was a race in France and Belgium, but we're not crossing the borders anymore. It's the 81st edition, actually. It's a pretty old race. As we have a counter-attack. It looks like Dries de Bont. I was just saying that, like, yeah, he's at the back of the bunch. He's probably a little bit cooked after a very long season. But Dries de Bont is just doing Dries de Bont things here.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. He used the side path there to kind of come from the back to the front and launch himself, and it was only a matter of 2 or 3 years ago that we were talking about that as a disqualification, and it still is as part of the UCI rules, but the UCI are not policing things, and the reason why they did that was to make these courses safer for pedestrians watching at the sides. It's, you know, when you think of what's happened before in races, especially in this part of the world, I can still remember the Van Summeren incident where he hit a spectator.
Oof.
And yeah, it's, you know, so a disqualification if you use the sidewalk, and we hear them complain sometimes in run-ins towards the finishes where teams are on it and nothing's done. Difficult to police, but when it's quite blatant, nothing's done, so they'll continue to do this because a rod for their own back. If they let people away with it, then if you do get reprimanded, then you can show, well, why didn't you do it here? So absolutely no consistency with that rule.
That's a great expression, a rod for their own back. Dries de Bont quite possibly has got his brake levers even further turn in than we saw before with Victor Kampenaerts. This is actually not allowed in the Netherlands for youth categories, for the juniors, because that's usually international UCI rules. It is allowed, but for juniors they do not allow it. For anything younger than juniors, they do not allow it. For the fact that kids, they want to copy what they see on television with the puppy paws, and yeah, if you have to brake all of a sudden, you just can't reach your brakes anymore in this kind of position. And these guys, they're pros, they have got the reflexes, not always, but usually they do. But with kids in pelotons with different levels of bike skills, it can be quite tricky. So it's actually not allowed for the younger categories, and rightly so, because I think it's ridiculous. Also not great for the shoulders, by the way. if you do a bike fit, Brian, that is probably not something that you would advise your clients.
No, not at all. I tell them about the situation. It's easier to stand with your arms by the side and put them straight up. There's absolutely no strain, but if you put them in, you start to feel it in the different parts, different muscles in your body. And there's a few riders that are sitting too wide when they should be using 38 bars instead of 40 or 42. But some riders riding very, very narrow. These riders train for it, because if you jumped on Dries de Bont's bike, if you were the same size as him and rode that position, you start hurting after an hour. These riders are spending hours and hours on their bike in this sort of position, trying to get as narrow as possible. Same with TT bikes. TT bikes, you want to get compact, narrow, and you're wanting to kind of put your head down. You wanted to get out of that position, but such is the training for a lot of these guys. Gone are the days where you turn up at a time trial and there's your time trial bike. They have a time trial bike at home and they spend hours and hours on it, and not just on the flat, over mountains and things like that. So it's just to get conditioning and all the muscles you need to keep in that position, and that's what you train for. The guys that go on the breakaways, like Dries de Bont here, they turn their levers in and they ride in that position because it's a little bit uncomfortable. You can see them down in the drops, moving around, a lot of movement. You see Victor Campenaerts, he stays in that more than anybody else, that kind of aero position.
Yeah, he probably knows it from his world hour record attempts, what he's been practicing a lot. We've got 46.2 kilometers to go here in the 81st edition of the Circuit Franco-Belge. We are approaching the finish line, and then we have got 2 more laps to go. The laps, they are 22.6 kilometers, include 2 climbs. One is called the Col de Orlitin. It's 1.7 kilometers, just 3.7% average. But 5 kilometers after that, we have the Côte de Trieux, or the Knokteberg in Dutch, and that one is a little bit steeper, well, a lot steeper actually. It's a kilometre long, almost 8% average, and also this final kilometre that we now see leading into the finish line is pretty demanding. The situation in the race, we had an early breakaway of 4 riders that was caught 40 kilometres ago. We have seen some counter-attacks, including the likes of Mike Teunissen, and this is Dries de Bont on a little counter-attack. From the peloton, we have Aimé de Gent of the Intermarché team, Dan Hole, very recognisable, Victor Campenaerts, who had a flat tyre the last time we were at the finish line, had to chase all the way back to the front and made it. Very active racing from Lotto Destiny, who have got the biggest favourite, there he is, Arnaud Delis, to win this race. Last year we had Alexander Kristoff winning this race from a breakaway of 3 with Victor Campenaerts and Dries van Gestel. And this race is a race of attrition. We've still got 2 more laps to go. It's been full on action for at least an hour already. The final started really, really early, but with these final 2 laps, you're all in for a treat. My name is José Bain. With me is Brian Smith. Brian, what do you think the outcome will be? A bunch sprint, a breakaway? Give us your opinion.
I don't think it's going to be a bunch sprint. I think it's going to be some sort of sprint. I think it'll be quite a small group that comes to the finish. And if they keep this up, this is going to whittle things down a little bit. Then the whole race is going to break up. That's if they keep it up. You can see that earlier on, Lotto Destiny were trying to control things, slow things down a little bit. But there's a few teams in here that are just still intent and trying to kind of break the back of this peloton. We've already seen a lot of riders distanced, and with these kind of narrow roads, a couple of climbs in the circuit, we are going to see a very entertaining couple of laps here, and it's very difficult to say what the outcome is going to be, but I think a very small group is going to come to the finish, and we're going to see a bit of a sprint, and it's a difficult one at that. We've just seen it, and they're going to see it a couple of times yet again.
Yeah, one of the characteristics of our local lap of 22.6 kilometers, of course, these two climbs, an uphill kick to the finish line, but also very narrow roads, technical descents, some obstacles there. As this man has done his job, we have seen him at the front a lot of time. Frédéric Frison gets applause here. He's moving on to a new team next year after spending his entire career at the Lotto Destiny team. Goes to the Q36.5 squad next year. But yeah, did his job. Off to the bus, get a shower, get dressed, and hopefully watch his teammate Arnaud Delis win the bike race.
Well, I think that's what he's hoping for. You do your work and you kind of hope it's in the hands of who's left in the peloton, and it's a very active peloton. This is the back, it's all pretty much strung out, and it has been very active. We did have a breakaway of 4. They were swept up, 2 laps ago?
Yeah.
And it's just been active ever since. Every now and again there's a bit of a lull in the action where Lotto Destiny, this team here, have come to the front, try to slow things down a little bit. But then again, the attack starts and all hell breaks loose again.
Yeah, of course, Frédéric Frison, if you grew up in the structure of Lotto Destiny, the development team and now the pro team, and after so many years move on, that's an emotional thing as well. A lot of riders are saying goodbye to their teams these days, whether they retire or move on to new teams. Victor Campenaerts, I'm absolutely amazed. He was way back after suffering a mechanical straight after the finish line, making it really difficult to come back. The team cars were quite a way back as well. He made his way back through the convoy, and then they started attacking at the front, making it even more difficult for Victor Campenaerts to return to the front. But yeah, here we are. He is back at the front, as is Mike Teunissen for round 2. No, he's not.
Yeah,
Campenaerts
has clearly got the condition, and it's again, he didn't panic. He was at the back. He was distanced by a few riders that lost the wheel, but he always came back. It's one of these situations where you have to gamble a little bit. If you were to make all the big efforts, then you're going to pay for it. So he decided that, just sit at the back when that gap opened to allow the group to bring him back, and they did. And now the kind of energy saved, he's moved up towards the front. But it was on this climb, Jose, that every lap there's been an attack. Are we going to see one yet again?
I do expect to see one. I was laughing because there's a guy there with sign says bidons, and he got like 5 thrown at him, and one hitting him straight in the face. Well, he got what he asked for, so a lot of bidons there for the man. This is Aimé de Gent, not related to Thomas de Gent. He's been part of this team for quite some time. Making a really active race are the Intermarché team. They have got Biniam Gramay on the squad, who we saw at the front a little while ago, but also Lorenzo Rota, who could do well on a course like this, and also very active already was Mike Teunissen. On the road book of this Circuit Franco-Belge, we have the world champion, because it was announced that he was going to race here and not this Sunday, but next week Sunday in Paris-Tours. But after his win in the Primus 8 Classic and the mountain bike event in Paris, Van der Poel has called it quits on the road season, and is enjoying a little bit of holiday at the moment, and then moving on to cyclocross. Well, that was he can't come back from this one, Brian. That's impossible.
No, I think you mentioned it, loitering at the back. He didn't look great, and he just saw his opportunity and went out, with an attack. But Aimé de Gent went there, which suggests to me, with the Intermarché being quite active here, that Gourmet is okay, but Gourmet needs a harder race, and that's why they're trying to make it as hard as possible.
At the end of the peloton, we find the man with number 194. He was part of our breakaway of 4 riders. Meindert Beulink, Oscar Riesebeek, fellow Dutchman, was part of it. And 2 French riders, Célestin Guillon and Mathis Lebert. Got another French rider at the front there with Julien Bernard. Signed a contract extension, very loyal, trustworthy domestique there on the Lidl Trek team. They're here with Bernard. Tony Galopin, one of his last races. He's going to retire next year and jump in the Lotto Destiny team car. We've got Dan Hole, Alex Kirsch, but he was dropped away back after his efforts in Luxembourg last week. Tom Squinch, who was one of the riders who was on the attack before, as was Jasper Stuyven, and Otto Vergaarde was also one of these riders. Yves Lampaert, together with Nase.
Stan de Wulf.
Stan de Wulf, thank you. Just like I said before, I'm getting a little bit car sick from the motorbike action. A friend of mine who works with UNOX, Caroline, she said, I'm happy we have got commentators because she can't watch due to the motorbike action. She's just only listening to us from Norway. So really great to have you with us, Caroline. Stan de Wulf, one of the 4 Belgians on the 82R team. We also have Greg van Avermaet. He is going to retire. One of his last races here. And Victor Kampenaerts, yet again, on the wheel. Problem here for Jasper Stuyven. Ooh, that's not great. We've got the climbs coming up. He's going for a full bike change.
Oh, that was close.
Wow. He's going for the full bike change
probably
here.
The quickest with discs and things like that on these narrow roads. Probably better, but it'll be better for the Lidl Trek car to kind of move over a little bit and let the other cars by, because the other cars will help Jasper Stuyven get back. Just watching this close pass again. Hang on. Oh.
Well, this is less shaky, but also less insightful camera work. Back at the front there with Victor Kampenaerts. Yeah, this is not great for Jasper Stuyven, of course, where the pace is so high. But they also know that Jasper Stuyven is, one of the favourites here. He was third in 2019 in this race. Last year, our winner was Alexander Kristoff. But so far, Lotto Destiny are really controlling this race really, really well. "38 kilometers to go," meaning that we are almost at the foot of the first of our 2 climbs on the local lap. It's that 1.7 kilometer climb, 3.7% average. We're here with the riders of the Lotto Destiny team. Very active race so far. Yves Lampaert, sadly, Jasper Stuyven just had a mechanical problem, a bike change for him, and almost hit by one of the cars in the convoy as well. But this is the start of the first of 2 climbs. So far, Brian, Lotto Destiny are really, really controlling this race well.
Yeah, they're doing a good job. They've lost it a couple of times. Very difficult to control. But you could see that a couple of riders there looking back, because it was a sustained effort there by quite a few riders, especially Stan de Wulf. The look behind was to see, did we distance anybody, how many are left, and a few looked behind and saw pretty much the whole peloton still there. See another look behind from Van Gistel. It's always a case where it's been quite difficult for a few kilometres. The riders will look back to see if there's any damage been done. There is a little bit here, but looks as if they're getting back on. But at that stage there, Jose, we come off the kind of small road, that little bit of a climb, got a little bit more technical, and this circuit is getting a little bit difficult because of the efforts. If you're too far back, you have to make big efforts to come back.
Lotto Destiny have an active race, but so do Intermarché. Lorenzo Rota, very well suited for these kind of finales, of course. The Italian, poof, almost hitting the church there. Really wide corner. The back end of the peloton, we have our Spot the Scot, little game that Brian and I play during our races. We never do spot the Dutchman, though. It's a lot
many
easier
of them.
game. It's a much easier game. I win it every time. But also this attack by, the Gent, neutralised by Lotto Destiny. They're of course racing for Arnaud Delis. They also have Kampenaerts, we can see him there. Frederik Frison, he just abandoned the race. Alex Segaert, a youngster. Maxime van Gils, very active. Florian Vermeer still there as well. So a strong team there for Lotto Destiny. I think Jasper Stuyven is back there at the right-hand side of the peloton. No, it's Squinch. This is a little replay, as you can see, what happened 3.5 kilometers ago. Putting the Madone on the side, taking the bottles, taking his computer, almost getting hit by a car, getting a spare bike, and luckily for Jasper Stuyven, he is back in the fold. He was third in 2019. The results last year, we had a very active final as well in this race last year with an attack by Alexander Kristoff, Dries van Gestel and Jasper de Buist. Victor Kampenaerts, who had a fantastic day in this race last year as well, bridged across to the free riders, and then we had a sprint where everybody was completely on their limit. And Alexander Kristoff won the bike race in front of Dries van Gestel, Kampenaerts, de Buist, and then Alberto Danese was the best of the rest in the peloton, about 15 seconds back. So that is what happened last year. We also had a sprint with Jacobsen in 2021. Mes Pedersen won this race, Dylan Groenewegen, and that is because this course is not always the same. Today we started in Tournai, then we made an 80-kilometer loop to the south, going back up north, and then we ended up on this local circuit of 22.6 kilometers. We're going to do it 6 times. We're now in the penultimate lap, as you can calculate from the kilometers on your screen. It's just waiting for the next time up the Côte de Trieux, the Knokteberg, or will they just wait until the final lap? The top of the Knokteberg comes at 11 kilometers from the line, so it is a great place to start an attack. Bike change there for Mike Teunis as well, but it looks like we have a little bit of peace and quiet in the peloton for now.
Yeah, a few teams interested in kind of sparking things up a little bit, making it hard. I think Intermarché being one of them. By the looks of things, Lotto Destiny are doing what they've done pretty much all this race, just trying to control things. On the climb here, just, you know, slowing up the peloton, kind of blocking the front. If you want to go on the attack, there's absolutely no room to go on the attack, so you have to kind of wait to get over the top of this climb and onto the kind of smaller roads. So definitely think it's going to be a very difficult final lap of this race today, and I think we're going to be highly entertained.
We could just play the Robbie Williams song then. Let me entertain you. And the lights go out here on the Col de Orlitin. Back at the tail end of the peloton with Jasper Stuyven. Luckily he's back. Maybe we can go over the start list of Victor Kampenaerts, who he attacks again. He had a fantastic race here last year, as I explained before, and he has got the legs today. Remember, he came back from that flat tire in the previous lap. Looks like Dries Devenijns is part of the action again. Would be great if we have a little bit of sunshine there. We have it. Julien Bernard is part of this group as well for the Lidl track team. And in 5th position we have another rider there for Lotto Destiny. Will it already be Arnaud Delis in action? Biniam Gramay, 6th position right now, trying to bridge across as well. But Kampenaerts has got the legs. He absolutely has got the legs. But the question is, what will this this flat tyre and the chase have done, and will he feel it in that final lap? But so far so good for Victor Kampenaerts.
I think they will feel it. I tell you what, Biniam Gourmet is coming across this gap, and he's coming across it quite quickly. That was a strong effort there. When you consider Victor Campenaerts has been riding so strong, I know he had that puncture and came back, but you know, he was giving it a little bit of welly in the front, so you could see that Dries Devenines was struggling a little bit to kind of hold the wheel. So Gourmet on a good day. Whether he's kind of using a lot of that kind of effort now, not kind of saving anything for the final lap, we'll have to kind of wait and see. Mike Tunnison had a problem, now he's back, but has some gaps to close, and he's hoping that others will do it for him, including Jasper Stuyven. But yeah, the front of the race kicking off a little bit. It's one of these cases, Josie, that say when you control things at the front, which Lotto Destiny were doing, when you kind of block the front, you get to, and everybody's kind of out of position, you can't really move up. Then over the top, you take advantage, and that's what they're trying to do. But I think with the Biniam Gourmet there, I cannot see Lotto Destiny happy with this situation.
We could see Julien Bernard of the Lidl Trek team communicating with the sports director, with Steven de Jong here, possibly informing about the situation of Jasper Stuyven, who on a finish like this one could be their top choice. But look at this pace is absolutely on the limit. All the way at the back we find Cyril Dessal moving up here with both Mike Teunissen and Jasper Stuyven. This is Lawrence Nasser, Elie Gisbert, who's been at the back for most of the race actually. Antoine Rochelle of the 82R team. And this group, Greg van Avermaet there as well. More attacks from Israel Premitech. Immediately followed by the Bolton Equities Black Spoke team. We saw that Ryan Christensen was in a little bit of trouble. Rory Townsend's already gone. Mark Stewart was also in a little bit of trouble. But this is a good effort there by Jens Reinders. And is this Fouché? Oh, he's the national champion, isn't he? And Victor Campenaerts yet again in that typical style of his. Well, talking about typical style, Jens Reinders has got one as well here on the descent of the first climb. The next one is coming up straight away. The Knokteberg, the Côte de Trio. Look at that, fantastic descent. Normally, of course, cars. Normally you have to stay on the bike path right there, but you can go a little bit faster on this part of the road. Yeah, I was just going to ask you, Brian, to go over the start list just a little bit. We had hoped for Mathieu van der Poel here. He was replaced by Jasper Philipsen. But Philipsen woke up with a cold, but we still have quite a few other interesting riders left. Look at that. Of course, Victor Campenaerts, he had a fantastic spring season. And then he crashed in, I think it was Brugge de Panne, one of these earlier spring races. And then all the effort he had put in to be at his absolute best and possibly be a captain as well in one of the cobbled classics was gone. He had a pretty nasty crash. He was actually immobilized for a little bit, had to stay in bed, and then the second half of the season he's absolutely on fire. Already won a race a couple of weeks ago, Victor Campenaerts, the Druifkoers in a sprint actually with Rasmus Tiller. I didn't see that one coming, to be honest, but it was
you were so upset in it. A Belgian beating your main man.
He's my main man, Rasmus Tiller. I don't know Rasmus personally anyways, but a little bit of running joke, running gag here. Tony Galopin, the man who won the Tour de France stage, the yellow jersey. Classica San Sebastian, great career, this man from France. Now we have another. Well, it's not a group if everybody's still coming back, but this is not what Lotto Destiny would prefer.
No, Campenaerts is here, but you see some riders taking evasive action on the bike path there. trying to move up there, while at the back we've got trouble for Total Energies, but Oliver Nassen here for AG2R Citroën, Stuyve, Tony Gallopin there for Lido Trek, but too much looking behind. That was a hard turn there, but there was a bit of a break in the peloton, but it looks as if Lotto Destiny are trying to kind of sew it back together. But Oliver Nassen for AG2R, former Belgian champion, you see that from his sleeves. Mike Turnison, who had a little bit of mechanical, got back on and now involved with the action. Yves Lampard for Soudal Quickstep. He was the rider that kind of closed that group down, made a big effort to come across there. So many different teams, and if you're making efforts now, you might pay for it later. Peter Siri for Soudal Quickstep as well. So this is action-packed, this race. Even when we came on air just under 100 kilometres ago, it's been full on. You asked what my prediction would be. It's going to be possibly a smallish group sprint in the end, but this is just so difficult. If you're not feeling good and you're down the back like these riders, you're just hanging.
.8 kilometres to go in the circuit franco-belge, with full-on action, and it has been like this for quite some time. We have Oliver Nassen here at the front. Mike Toon is a very active race. Arnaud Delit, he hasn't done anything that might cost him too much energy. On Sunday at the European Championships, I read some comments that he needs more tactical insight, because sometimes he just spends too much energy in the peloton, but today he's just racing a perfect race so far.
Yep, we've hardly kind of noticed him. Just sitting there, you can see he's got these white Tikoi Evo 4 glasses on with the Revel Red lens, and he just watching what's happening round about him and allowing his teammates to do all the kind of hard work. But still, to finish it off, it's a tough job, because Mike Turnison again for Intermarché. Biniam Girmay has been there and thereabouts. He just made an effort that previous lap. I said it before, and I'm going to say it again. It looks as if Girmay, he looks good because the way he came across that gap. But I think to beat Delay in this type of finish, I think Biniam Girmay has asked the team to make it as hard as possible.
This is Dries de Bond and his, I think still fiancée. He's done the work, he was on the attack, but it's the end of the season. Sometimes, the energy is just running low.
You have to say, and I'm just going to shout it out now, that on the back of, the announcement of Bolton Equities in the purple, they're a second division team, full of, I think there's about 4 riders going to the Olympic champion, the Olympic Games for New Zealand next year within the team. Mark Stewart is there. A lot of riders relying on the team, run by Greg Henderson. It's just such a shame. You can either do two things. You can either just throw the towel in, or you can get involved with the racing. And I have to say, this morning in Langkawi and now this afternoon in Franco-Belge, hat off to the riders. Keep this motivation, keep doing what they're doing, because you never know what's round the corner.
Cramps for Dries Devenijns. This is his final race on Belgian soil. He is going to retire. The 40-year-old Belgian who was so important for the Vuelta win of Remco Evenepoel last year. This is his last season. Started all the way back in 2006. 15 seasons at the highest level for Dries Devenijns. But it looks like cramps might... he's trying to get back. It's not a super hit. It's not a super hot day. It's about 21 degrees Celsius today. But like we said, it's been full-on action from from 18, 90 kilometers to go when our original breakaway of 4 riders was caught. It's been full on action, and at the end of the seasons, the riders will absolutely feel that. If it's not physically, like you explained before, the mental toil of racing on the 28th of September is also not to be underestimated. Stan de Wulf, a man who is, he's just a Belgian cyclist. If you had to draw one, it would be Stan de Wulf. He's big, he's strong. He's got brown bibs, which maybe not the first choice when you draw a cyclist, but
well, it wasn't so bad when he crashed earlier in the year and he went into that manure.
I even ended up in one of the British papers with that quote. I hope he forgave me for that. But yeah, he went. It was in Grand Prix de Denain, which is on the same road as Paris-Roubaix, all the way back in April, and he went straight ahead into the. I won't say it again, I think, but pile o' manure. Let's keep it at that. He had a rough day there. Stan de Wulf, a rider who, in my opinion, has always been on the brink of a breakthrough, but it never really happened so far.
He was a good rider, younger.
He's got one pro win. That was one of the French Cup races 2 years ago. He's 25. Stan de Wulf, been part of this team for 3 years now. This is his 3rd season, and also started in the Lotto Soudal team back then. The next time we cross the finish line will be 2 kilometers from this point. So this is a rather technical final, Brian.
I think it's a good lap. It's got everything you expect from Belgium. Maybe not so much of the kind of cobbles and cobbled bergs and things like that, but it's got plenty of technical nature. You can uphill towards the finish as well. So it's not an easy course at all. You have to have your wits about you. But I tell you what, it's going to sting. Coming on to this kind of final lap, we're just going to approach the last kilometre. You can see the kite, the red kite, looks as if it's sellotaped to a big green bin just up here in the left-hand side, kind of Belgian style. You can just see it there, big green bin, yellow top. That's the Flamme Rouge.
You just use whatever is available. There it is. Well, it's not your average. It's not your average bin there, but it's very
bins
creative.
Out early. That's instead of having individual bins. I tell you what. The whole village is going to put one big bin. We're going to put it out in one day only. A collective effort. And
it's going to be today, on Thursday. Do not forget to recycle, boys and girls. It's important. Back to the racing here with Stan de Wulf, 16 seconds. And he started that final kilometre, which is an uphill kicker. It's a really hard little climb at the end of our 190.6 kilometres. It's a kind of sprint that Arnaud Delis does perfectly, especially after the way that he did the Vanberg on Sunday. Another effort here by Aimé de Gent, followed by Lorenzo Rota, who, according to the team's press officer, Sarah just messaged me, is their team leader, together with Zimmerman. And this is the kind of finish that Lorenzo Rota does well. He looks very relaxed there, the bearded Italian on the wheel of Aimé de Gent, but quickly followed by an entire team of Lotto Destiny riders, with Maxime van Gils still there, Victor Campenaerts, and of course Arnaud Delis. Looks like Tom Squinch is trying to bridge across there for Lidl Trek as well, but Arnaud Delis, he's leaving, a rather good impression, we should say. And that means that the attack of Stan de Wulf is almost over and out. Rasmus Tiller, there he is, in the colours of UNO-X. This is the kind of finish that he does well at as well. He won, of course, twice on the Citadel in Diest, in Dwarsdorp Hageland, which is a punchy finale as well. He could do well, the man there, but big man with the yellow helmet. Yves Lampaert is at the front as well. Tom Squinch, a little track. Jasper Stuyven still a little bit back after his bike change. But we're going into the last lap here. 22.6 kilometers to go. Twice. We do a climb twice. One is coming up in 4 kilometers from now, and one in about 9. And then we've got 11 kilometers to the finish line on narrow roads, tricky descents, and what have you, before we know the successor to Alexander Kristoff. We're looking at some very tired faces here, Brian.
Yeah, no surprise that the way they've gone hammer and tong around this circuit. This is a really kind of difficult circuit. I love it. It would suit me down to the grounds, but for a lot of riders here, it's just about trying to hang on to the wheels in front and hope that nobody just kind of swings out the line and opens up the gap.
This is Bart Limme, former army man, part of the Human Powered Health team. Made a switch to cycling a little bit later in his life after having spent time in the Dutch army. We're staying with him because the camera bike can't get past him. But Human Powered Health, yeah, there we go. Sorry, Bart, we'll have to move on. Drone footage yet again, because this is 2023. I think they were jealous of the drone footage we have in Langkawi every morning, Brian, which is top notch.
It's just a pity we don't have Drone Hopper as a sponsor anymore.
No, that proved to be a little bit of a bubble as well, the company. Florian Vermeers at the front of the bunch there for Lotto Destiny, followed by Lorenzo Rota and Maxime van Gils. We're making our way to the Col de Orlitain, the last of the 7 times that we are going to do this climb. In itself, it's no big deal, just 1.7k at 3.7% average. But it could be a nice launching pad to really try and do something before we end up on the Côte de Trieux. Like we have a little bit of a group here, although the peloton is still very, very close.
Yeah, I think Amy Degent or is it Tunison, just thought that Campanars was going to go on the counter move there and just kind of swapped onto his wheel, but it's just seen the effort of the riders at the back coming out that corner. They were full on sprinting to stay at the back, but Campanars was just coming to the front because you get a sense, and I got a sense there watching it, that because Vermeers was just slowing up a little bit in that wide road, so there was a moment there that a counter-attack could have gone. So Victor Campanars just came down the right-hand side and is just keeping the tempo up because they're in a perfect situation. Delay looked quite good there coming up that final climb to the bell. They do have numbers, the team from Belgium, in the red and the kind of light blue. So Victor Campanars absolutely sacrificed himself for Arnaud Delay here.
Looks like Jasper Stuyven has moved up again after his bike change. This is the kind of finish that could suit him well. He got a few teammates there with Dan Hole and Tom Squinch for the Little Trek team. Looks like Axel Zinglet of Cofidis is still part of this first group, but all eyes will be on Arnaud Delay, who's now safely on the wheel of Dan Hole, one of the tallest guys in the pro peloton, the Dutchman time trial specialist. But Lotto Destiny are so far they're racing a near perfect race. But of course, if Arnaud Delay comes in 4th, it doesn't really matter.
He's hurting Victor Campanars. But
can you blame him?
He has to keep this. Yeah, he has to keep this going because any slowing down here, and they're going to be hit from some of the other teams that have had a look around and thought, well, my chances of winning are probably not
slim.
Going to be great if Delay is still in here. So Biniam Girmay is also in here. He looked okay. He's looked good. If the team are saying they're going with someone else, and you know, it's okay looking at a course like this and thinking, right, this is going to be hard, but they might want to think about Biniam-Girmay to, you know, if it comes to this size of group finish. But let's see what happens. This Cofidis is Brian Coca. I noticed him earlier on and mentioned him. He was hanging about the back, taken out the back, didn't look too good, but they just have to watch these kind of counter-attacks now, Lotto Destiny, if they want it to come to a sprint.
Yves Lampaert slotting into second position there for the Soudal Quick-Step team. And we're back at the back of the peloton because, well, basically that's where we have our motorbike. Yeah, Alpecin de Koning, they had a different plan, of course, for this race. Jasper Philipsen, 14 wins already this year, and he had hoped to add a 15th one today and inch a little bit closer to Tadej Pogacar when it comes to top of the list of victories this year. He is going to recover. He has a little bit of a cold. Hopefully it's no big deal and he can complete the program that he had in mind, including the Münsterland Tour on Tuesday, which you can follow on our digital channels as well, and the Tour of Turkey from Sunday, the 8th of October, which traditionally offers a whole array of sprint finishes.
Huge effort here by Victor Campenaerts, absolutely huge. You know, to do what he's done today, absolute sacrifice himself, and I don't think he can understand what he's doing here because of the speed. It's kind of putting off these attacks. Lido Trek are coming towards the front, but for these kind of dangerous moments, very important that Victor Campenaerts keeps a high tempo. You see that Lido Trek tried to come up there. No, you're not having the front spots. I'm going to keep the tempo. I'm going to try and stop you guys from winning. So it is Tony Galopin for Lido Trek that goes on the attack in this slight descent. If it wasn't for Victor Campenaerts, I think these attacks would have come in that previous climb there, but again he's up for the task, just tracking him, sitting on him. So I think again in the next climb, because they come in quick succession, I think in the next climb we're going to see some action, and Lotto Destiny know that. They still have numbers towards the front, and Victor Campenaerts doing the majority of the work here for his team.
Yeah, it's all about keeping control right now, and we've got two teams with numbers at the front. Both Lidl Trek, they've got 4 riders right now. Tony Galopin indeed returned to the front, and we've got Lotto Destiny. I think they've got 3 riders as well. AG2R have numbers as well, as have Intermarché. So there's options for numerous teams in this first group, in this peloton that has become smaller and smaller and smaller after a really hard race so far here in the Circuit Franco-Belge edition number 81. For quite some time this was a stage race, but from 2016 on it became a one-day race under the name of the Eurometropole Tour, if you might remember that name, but now it's back to its original name, and that is the Circuit Franco-Belge. We're not going to France, we are racing in the south of Belgium, so actually not that far from the French border, but we're not going into France, so the name is a little bit wrong for this race. But it used to be a race crossing the borders between France and Belgium, going all the way back to before the Second World War. Yeah, we're making our way to the Côte de Trieux, and it's coming up in about 2 kilometers from now, and that is a pretty steep one. We know it from the Flemish Classics, of course. It's labelled here from this side as a kilometer long, almost 8% average. And look at the formation there for Lidl Trek. They almost have them in order of how tall they are. Normally you would have do that the other way around. Everybody could just ride behind Dan Hole and stay out of the wind.
Yeah, Tom Squinch just said there, come on past me, I want to sit behind you.
Everybody wants to sit behind Dan Hole. He's one of the tallest guys in the pro peloton. But Lidl Trek, they got strength in numbers there. We're still at the back of the peloton. That's not where it's happening. This is the waste zone, so just get rid of your wrappers and your bottles before the final 15 kilometres start. Well, Tom Squeens did get what he wanted for. Then he and Jasper Stuyven are now behind the tall Dutchman.
Yeah, you can see it's not rocket science to see what Lidl Trek are trying to do here. I don't think they want to wait for a sprint. I think the next climb they want to try and kind of set something up. Stuyven, possibly Squinch. So they've got prime position, and we see this happening. It's, you have to make sure that you are towards the front, and you can see that Lotto Destiny still have Campanarts there, but just a little bit further back there's a trio in the red and light blue, two of them looking after potential favourites and potential winner Arnaud Delis.
Yeah, so we've got Victor Campenaerts here in the Lidl Trek train, and Florian Vermeers, Maxime van Gils still with Arnaud Delis. A little bit further back in this peloton is Alex Segaert, the under-23 time trial champion, European champion, runner-up, I think, if I remember correctly, at the World Championships. Last efforts here by Tony Galopin, a man who is going to retire from pro racing after a fantastic career, and is going to jump in the team car of Victor Campenaerts. Of course, he had a fantastic time at the then called Lotto Soudal team, always kept the contact warm, and is now returning to the Belgian team to become their sports director. It's still a rather sizable group, Brian, after all the racing that we've done.
Just wait till this next climb. Yeah, there's a lot of people kind of hanging on. I would say there's about almost 30 riders that, if they keep this tempo and really kind of attack the top of this climb, probably about 20 or 30 riders will come to the finish. If they slow up a bit, there might be a little bit more, but Lidl Trek want to keep this high, and it looks as if they're setting up something.
Dan Hole, Jasper Stuyven, Tom Squeens, that is the order of affairs right now for the Lidl Trek team. I wondered earlier this morning if Latvia actually had Lidl stores so that Tom Squeens could have his billboard placed in the middle aisle, but they do. 13, no less, in Latvia. This is the Côte de Trieux, also strengthened numbers there from the Intermarché 1T team with Teunissen, with Rota, with Girmay, of course. A little bit further back are the riders for the Soudal Quick-Step team. Yves Lampaert being the first one there, and Asgreen is a little bit further back there for Soudal Quick-Step. Quite possibly with Sénéchal still. And this is at the back of the bunch, Fabien Duby. This is not what we want to see when the action is quite possibly happening all the way at the front. So please let's go back to the front here on the Côte de Trieux.
There's a few riders starting to slip. A couple of riders there. Tiller is there towards the front. Lampaert, Rota. Vermeers is there for Lotto Destiny.
Delis.
There's a few riders you can see. Janssen is there as well, but I noticed that Girmay was kind of slipping back as well, so there's a lot of riders being kind of shed out the back here, and as anticipated over the top of this climb we could have possibly just about 30 riders left.
Yeah, and that's all down to the work of Dan Hole, Galopin and Jasper Stuyven, and it was Tom Squeens left at the front. It would be nice if Tom Squeens finally got a chance for himself. He's been doing so much work for other riders. This is Rasmus Tiller on the climb here. Also a great European Championships from him. We have Squeens then followed by Lorenzo Rota, Johannessen, recent stage winner in Luxembourg on an uphill kicker as well, wasn't it? Where he won. So a rider to look out for. All the way at the back we find the former New Zealand national champion James Fouché. This is Gutierrez, who was on the attack earlier today. But let's get back to the front there with Rasmus Tiller. The work that he's doing right here, Brian, makes me think that it is for Tobias Halland Johannesson today.
Possibly, because he's won recently. He's got the form. He won that good stage in Luxembourg, but I think he just kind of forced the issue there. There's probably less than 30 riders now left.
Yeah, these are the riders dropped for Lotto Destiny after the work that they've done. The Duracell Bunny, as he's sometimes called, Victor Kampenaerts, seemed to have run out of steam. And we are left with an elite group that is still rather big, with Aimé de Gent Rota representing Intermarché, Arnaud Delis. A little bit of working start. Of course, that is his style, Brian. That he's always looks like he's 2 gears too high there on the bike, Arnaud Delis.
Yeah, Vermeer, she's up towards the front. Delis a little bit further back. There's numbers there for Intermarché in the fluorescent yellow, white and blue, but Squinch also in there, Tiller and Tobias Johannesson. But you know, this is hard times here over the top of this climb. Charmique is also there.
Is there a little gap now with Arnaud Delis? Looks like there is a little gap.
Small gap, but I think it will knit itself back together. But Casper Asgreen at the back, we mentioned him, but it was the wrong number. So Asgreen is lurking with intent. He's the sort of rider that, see, when it comes back together, Jose, in the last kind of 10 kilometres, just watch out for him. You cannot allow him to go anywhere.
Strength in numbers also for UNOX here. They've got 3 riders. We mentioned them: Rasmus Tiller, Halland Johannesson and Anton Charmique, all representing the team from Norway/Denmark. Now we got more Soudal Quickstep at the front as well, with the former winner of the Tour of Flanders, and of course Florian Sénéchal, who is also a man to look out for when it comes to these kind of finishes.
Peter Serre is there at the back, but this is the second group. The front group is in front, and I really do think that Lotto Destiny are a little bit exposed there in the front group. This is the second group, so they're a little bit exposed, having only one rider there. Bit of radio contact. I don't think they'll make contact. You can just see them in front there, but Arnaud Delis is here. He's got one teammate. Looks like Israel Premier Tech have got Corbin Strong.
Yep.
You know, good finisher here. So he's the rider just coming through now. But a very, very small select group with Biniam Girmay. Looks as if he's on the back as well. So good few sprinters here. We'll see what develops. But I think once some of the riders start looking behind and think, well, you know, what are my chances? 10 kilometres to go. There's some good sprinters here. What are my chances of maybe trying to kind of launch and trying to go solo? I'm pretty sure in the back of some of these riders' minds, they don't think a sprint is a good idea. I think for UNOX, yes, Tiller looks strong. Maybe not so much for Soudal Quickstep. Corbin Strong is there. If this continues, this actually helps Arnaud Delis. But you can see the second group now. I'm not too sure they'll make contact. I think for Lotto Destiny, it would be good for them if they made contact, because there's 3 riders here to help Delis in the last few kilometres.
We also have Georg Zimmermann here for the Intermarché team. So strength in numbers. I think they've got 4 riders in this first group at the moment. We also have Ston van Tricht still in that first group for Soudal Quickstep, and these are our chasers. Yeah, Jeffrey Soup is.
I'm not riding.
He's not going.
I've got one rider up there. I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I think Dries van Gestel is the man in that first group for the Total Energies team. He was on the podium last year, coming into second place there. Yeah, a pretty difficult position as well for Tom Squinch. Of course, it was his team that made this move and make sure that we are left with a smaller group. But now Squinch himself is left alone. He doesn't have anybody with him anymore either.
It's always a difficult one. There's not a lot you can do. They put all that effort in, sacrificed, and then went, see, Tom's, you're on your own. But he is up against it. He is a rider that is on his own, but he's the rider that's very capable of dealing with things on his own, and he's the one rider in this group. If there's any hesitation, Tom Squinch, I think, will try and do something. surely he cannot or doesn't want to come to a sprint, not with 3 or 4 really good sprinters here.
No, in the Maryland Cycling Classic a couple of weeks ago, he was on the attack all by himself to be in a really weird situation, caught by his own teammate, Matthias Skelmos, who went on to win the bike race in the end. So yeah, if he still has the power to go on a little bit of an attack, we don't really have a climb of sorts left where you can actually go for it, and it will be, of course, in the interest of, for example, Lotto Destiny to keep it all together. They have Florian Vermeers now all the way at the front of this group. With number 41, it's Arnaud Delis. 75 is a name to look out for as well. Corbin Strong, a great ride last week in Luxembourg, so he will be full of confidence despite the fact that he is alone. And here we have the first attacks from teams that don't have the super sprinters in this first group.
Yeah, this is Turgis now going on the attack for Total Energies, but you see, as soon as he made the attack, they were straight on him, given no quarter whatsoever. So there's a lot of teams in here that, with a sprinter, are very interested in bringing it all back for that sprint. Intermarché getting caught out a little bit at the back here.
Oof. Yeah, this is not a great situation, of course, with De Gent, Zimmerman and Grimay all dropped. They still have Lorenzo Rota at the front though, but they had strength in numbers and now have to make their way back to the front. The same goes for Rasmus Tiller, by the way, who is of course a master of surfing the wheels and making sure he doesn't do too much work himself, just like he did last weekend in the European Championships. But now the team's got 3 riders here with Charmig, Halland Johannessen and Rasmus Tiller. So they also can play games. The team sports manager here, Stig Christiansen. So we've got a few teams with 3 riders. So how is this going to play out for the remainder of this Circuit Franco-Belge? 6.2 kilometers to go. With our big favourite there with number 41. A little bit of conferring there, Brian, between Florian Vermeers and Arnaud Delis, and this is probably what they were thinking about. The pace is up at the front yet again by Uno X, and that means that Florian Vermeers has to follow this move.
Yeah, conversation now getting close to the final few kilometres, and I don't think they're the only team that want to kind of keep it together. I know Lotto Destiny only has 2 riders here, Delis and his teammate Vermeers towards the front, but Tiller deciding that, I think he's just sitting in the wheels now. I think he is the man now. It's number 97. So you can see that his team are quite happy with that. He's got a couple other teammates in front, Charmig and Tobias Johannessen, and they're quite happy to kind of roll through and make sure that this second group doesn't come back. So it does look as if this could be the kind of reduced sprint in the end. Whether anybody else is going to try something, potentially Stanley Wolf at the back here, AG2R Citroën, he's a rider that's already been on the attack, but Vermeers has been sent to the front. Just keep it rolling. Soudal Quickstep, again, a team that I thought might want to try something. They're content in keeping this rolling along as well. So Corbin Strong is on his own, but he can do it on his own. By the looks of things, we've got enough riders that are willing to kind of sacrifice their chances for their sprinter to lead it to a sprint. The only question is now, with the numbers, Intermarché, what do they do?
Yeah, 4 riders of the Intermarché team in this first group. Dimitri Kleis is the sports director behind the wheel today. Florian Vermeers, he's got instructions, keep everything together. Although the last time we went through the finish line, Brian, it was pretty obvious that Arnaud Delis was okay, more than okay.
Oh, of course he's okay. He's on terrific form. You only have to look at the European Championships. He is by far the favourite here, but Tiller, he's up against it, but he's taking on the challenge. Same with Seneschal. Seneschal, I'm just unsure about Gourmay. It might be Rota today. He's here, but he doesn't look as maybe good as Rota, and I think that's why they're sitting back a little bit. Intermarché they are going to, I think, help Rota, as your friend already mentioned, in communications with that team. So possibly that decision being made, but nice to see Gourmet here. But yes, it does look as if Tiller, Delay, Rota, Seneschal, they seem to be the kind of strong rider, sprinter types that are at the front here.
We're back at the first group, the second group. They're not far behind, just 23 seconds with Greg van Avermaet there at the front of the bunch in one of his last races as a professional cyclist. But yeah, both Lotto Destiny and UnoX, they are gunning for that sprint, that little uphill sprint to the finish line in Mont de l'Encluse. We've been there before. They know it. They know exactly what to expect. They probably know how to time it. And both Rasmus Tiller and Arnaud Delis have most likely indicated that they're ready for it. And that's why they put two of their teammates at the front right now to keep the pace high, to discourage anybody like Standeville, for example, or Seneschal to go on the attack and yeah, try and go for a solo. Well, we're on the really narrow, well, it's not a bike path per se, but it looks very bike pathy. And then we go onto the main road after this corner, and it widens up a little bit more as we are already inside the final 3 kilometers. It's 20 seconds to the chasers. I don't see them coming back. So we're looking at that sprint between Tiller, Arnaud Delis, Corbin Strong, quite possibly as well, Lorenzo Rota, maybe Biniam Girmay. It all comes down to how riders are feeling. Of course, before the race, Brian, you can determine you are our team captain, but if one of these riders indicates during the race that they don't have the legs, you have to change the plans mid-race.
Yeah, of course. You try to stick to plan A, but you know, it's all about feel at the end. You know, we're talking about maybe 2 or 3 riders might want to try and kind of do something, but unfortunately the pace at the front here with Charmig and Vermeers is kind of stopping any of that action happening, and it's all about kind of setting things up. It'll be an interesting one. I think Delay is still the man, but Corbin Strong, after winning the first stage of Luxembourg not that long ago, Tiller, he loves a finish like this. Seneschal, you know, could be there, and who's it going to be? I think Rota, but I think in this type of finish, I think I'm going to go with Delay. Never a guarantee, but I am going to go with Delay.
Yeah, the sheer power that he displayed on that finish at the European Championships, bringing Wout van Aert back. And like you said on social media, Brian, after that race, Delis could have won that title himself. He could have, if the instructions from the Belgian cycling coach would have been different. But that is would have and could have. Doesn't buy you anything. He doesn't wear that blue and white jersey. That is going to be on the shoulders of Christophe Laporte from now on until next year.
See, Biniam Girmay has been used. You know, that says a lot. That, you know, he is not going to go be the man finishing here. I just noticed that even in the previous lap he was just starting to kind of suffer a little bit. Charmig, it's all over. Vermeers, pretty much all over for him. So now Intermarché started to line this one up, and looks as if they are going with Rota.
Yeah, we're looking for the big green inflatable bin on the side of the road to indicate the final kilometre. We don't have an arch or what sorts. We have a bin, and there it is. It has got a flamme rouge on it, and that means we are inside the final kilometre. We have Biniam Girmay leading out the sprint. 3 riders of Intermarché behind him, with Rota, De Gent, and Zimmerman, I think, is the fourth. Or is it Teunissen still? Is Zimmerman, indeed. We have Tom Squeens for Little Track, Florian Vermeers together with Arnaud Delis. We also have the riders there for Soudal Quickstep with Florian Seneschal, with Yves Lampaert as well. Turgis all the way at the back of the group. Rasmus Tiller, of course, in the red and yellow for UnoX. And the climb has started. It's Florian Vermeers at the front, 600 meters to go. And this climb can be absolutely endless after this really hard race that we had so far. It's been full on action from about 90 kilometers to go when our breakaway was caught. Now it's Ston van Tricht getting to the front, and look how comfortable Rasmus Tiller is looking there. He is hardly breathing there in second position, followed by Arnaud Delis. We have Rota with the moustache, and also Tobias Halland-Johannessen getting to the front. Of course, he has got the confidence from that stage win last week in the Tour of Luxembourg. And is he leading out Rasmus Tiller? Is he going for his own glory? Are they going for a 1 and 2 on the stage here for UNOX? But look at the pace there by Tobias Halland-Johannessen. Is he going to get a second win in 1 week time, or will it still be Rasmus Tiller? The climb is almost over. We have Corbin Strong there as well for the Israel Premitech. We're inside the final 100 meters, and Rasmus Tiller is done. It is going to be Arnaud Delis, and perfectly so. The team did the work, and Delis, he was the strongest, and wins the Circuit Franco-Belge. What a rider.
Yeah, strength prevails. And, you know, what a strong top three we had there. Delis, Tiller and Corbin Strong. It's, you know, it's just a difficult finish there. And, you know, hat off to Lotto Destiny there. They controlled it as much as they could. Of course, some bits of the race were very difficult, but that finish was just who had enough strength left in the legs. There's your top three. Unfortunately for Girmay, he was called upon to help his team. They didn't come up with the goods, but Arnaud Delis did.
Yeah, and remember, he's just 21 years of age, 21 and a half actually, and this is a win number 18 of his career. A couple of weeks ago he got his first World Tour win in Canada, and yeah, we already saw last Sunday that he is on absolutely stunning form, Arnaud Delis, and wins again. The chasing group here a little bit further back, but the big favourite did it after some fantastic work by the entire Lotto Destiny team with Ramses de Bruyne, Victor Kampenaerts, Alex Segaert, Frederik Frison, Maxime van Gils, and an absolute MVP performance by Florian Vermeers. Some good racing today, Brian.
Very entertaining, I have to say. You know, this is a stare, I think, but just look at, you don't really kind of see how hard this is up the finish. Just look at the faces. You know, Corbin Strong head down, looking to see, have I managed to get in the podium here? Tiller showing his teeth. Delis just doing what he does, just that pure strength. Tobias Johannessen hangs on for fourth place here, but look at the grimaces all over. That was a really tough finish. You can just see Rota just in the background there, but Seneschal up there, everybody looking behind. Can I get fourth? Can I get fifth? I'm happy here in sixth. That was just a killer of a finish, an absolute killer, and a great race from when we came on air. Some of these races, the breakaway, very mundane, controlled sprint at the end. No, this was far from it. This is a keeper, this one.
Drone footage, because it's cool. And it's just the demeanour of Arnaud Delis, and from coming onto the scene rather young actually, it was pretty clear that that this man is something special. And what you see as well, Brian, is that he is growing into a team leader, and he did that this year, really knowing what he needs from his team, and just being a team leader. That is what he has become really, really fast. He comes from the deep, deep south of Luxembourg, the province of Luxembourg, that is, not the country. And of course, you all know this story. Grew up on a farm, cattle farm. And up until quite recently, still helping out on the farm. His first pro win came in 2022 when he won the Trofeo Playa de Palma. That is just 1.5 years ago. He missed a considerable amount of races this year after that horrible crash in Dunkirk, which took him out for a couple of months. And I think next year we will see his debut in the Tour de France, despite the fact that he will only be 22. It also kind of depends on what happens, of course, with Caleb Ewan and the Lotto Destiny team. But I've read some reports that he's ready for that Grand Tour debut. Normally, when young riders make their debut in a Grand Tour, it's either the Giro or the Vuelta. But I cannot imagine that Lotto Nesteri do not bring Arnaud Delis to his first Tour de France next year. Well, and that's the end of a very busy day of cycling here on Eurosport. We got the highlights of this 81st edition of the Circuit Franco-Belge. We had a breakaway of 4 riders caught really early with 2 Dutchmen, Meindert Weuling, Oscar Riesebeek. We had Célestin Guillon and Mathis Lebert from France. And then the attack started. We had groups all over the place. And in the end, we ended up with this decisive group that was actually created by the Lidl Trek team, by Jasper Stuyven, Dan Hole and Tony Galopin on the final climb. The lap, I'm a little bit ahead of the highlights. I don't have a script, they just threw the highlights at me. On this 22.6 kilometer lap, we had a few riders who tried a solo with Stan de Wulf, with Teunissen, and then Lotto Destiny really controlling it. Most of it actually, or leaving it to the other teams. Great job by, amongst other, Frédéric Frison. Dries de Bond, he tried his luck after being all the way at the back of the peloton, getting all the way to the front, but this really took out the last ounce of his energy and he would abandon the next lap. We also had Aimé de Gent. We had this bike change by Jasper Stuyven in the penultimate lap. Almost hit by a car there. Oop, don't be scared. It was a very close call. And then Victor Campenaerts, who also had to come back after a mechanical issue, and despite that still was one of the strongest riders in the race. Cramps for the man who is going to retire in a few days' time. I think he's going to Lombardia together with Remco to bow out Dries Stevenage. Then we go to the finish line for the penultimate time with Stan de Wulf on the attack, and still strength in numbers there for several teams as we make our way to the double header of the Col d'Orlitin and the Côte de Trieux. And then we are all the way in the... are we already in the final kilometre? We are in the final kilometre. It's all over the place, these highlights reel. The highlights, the lead out was done by Tobias Halland Johannessen, and then on a rather big gear, which is of course very typical of Arnaud Delis. We can see the moment that Rasmus Tiller has to bow his head to Arnaud Delis, who wins race number 18 in his rather short career so far. I cannot wait to see what this guy can do. Is it Flanders? Is it Roubaix? Is it Gent-Wevelgem? There is an absolute world to be discovered by Arnaud Delis, who's just 21 years of age. An action-packed highlights reel. Like I said, I don't get any scripts for these kind of things. They're just thrown at us. So it was a little bit ahead of the action there, but in the end, it was that marvelous sprint there by Arnaud Delis and Rasmus Tiller. Yeah, what I wanted to say before the highlights, that was a fantastic day of racing. This was the last one today. Arnaud Delis wins ahead of Tiller, Corbin Strong, Tobias Halland Johannessen, Seneschal, Lorenzo Rota, Zimmerman, Lampaert, Squinch and Anthony Turgis. Yeah.